Hey everybody, and welcome back to FSI DFS. I'm McKinley 412. Today we're going to be looking at this 9-game afternoon slate that DraftKings has going. This is a very straightforward slate. You got the two best pitchers on the slate in the two easiest matchups. You could even argue Carrasco could be put with those, top two given his salary. He's also got a very easy matchup. So like the Cliff Notes version is going to be a lot of Woodruff and Carrasco and cash with an Atlanta stack. GPP, maybe a pivot off of Woodruff and go to Valdez, and pivot off of Carrasco and go to Sandoval. Like it is a very, I think, straightforward slate, all things considered. But we'll dive a little bit deeper into this. Some weather concerns, Atlanta, some heavy rain heading to Atlanta tonight or this afternoon. So make sure you're paying attention to that. I think it'll be okay, but we got to obviously get closer to lock. So let's just kind of begin. Woodruff at the top. I mentioned he is our top pitcher on the slate today. I was kind of going around, kind of building. So Woodruff, Milwaukee going up against Pittsburgh. We know what Woodruff can do. We know his strikeout rate. We know his ceiling, all of that stuff. He's the best pitcher on the slate, and he's got one of the better matchups on the slate. Obviously, Pittsburgh, the young guys, they're fun. They can do some things. However, Woodruff's already shut them down in his last start. He didn't allow a single earned run, had 8 Ks and 30 DK points against this exact same Pittsburgh team. So Woodruff, he's going to be your SP1 today. Valdez, I have right below him. Another just very quote unquote easy matchup going up against Oakland. I think Houston is one of the biggest favorites on the slate today. So Valdez, perfect. It's going to be very, very difficult, if not impossible, to fit in a Woodruff, Valdez, and then like a healthy Atlanta stack. You could go down to like the bottom of the order with Atlanta, but I'd rather stick with the big guns, especially Swanson and Riley for sure. After them, Perez and Wright, I have them all graded here. Perez and Wright, I could not determine a difference between these two guys. So I kind of put them in both the categories. If you want to rank one above the other, totally fine. Wright, I would say, is a better pitcher than Perez, but Washington just does not strike out. They have one of the lowest strikeout rates in the entire major leagues, which is shocking considering how much they struggle on offense. But yeah, Washington, they just do not strike out. So Wright, his strikeout rate has been down as of late already. And now he's going up against a team that just doesn't strike out. You could see another one of these 3-4 strikeout games. And you don't want one of those 3-4 strikeout games from a guy you're paying $9,000 for. Perez, on the other side, he will get more strikeouts, or he can get more strikeouts than Wright. However, he's in a tougher matchup going up against Minnesota and the power that they can bring with their bats. So pretty much it was tough to determine where to go with these two. In the mid-tier, Carrasco, he's going to be your clear, I would probably say chalk. Where is he? He's over here. Going up against Miami, 7.5K. This guy's a boomer bust kind of guy. I've been saying this in these videos for 2 years now. But, he does well against these poor teams. He just faced Miami earlier this month, 20 DK points, 7 Ks. Miami strikes out a lot. One of the highest strikeout teams against right-handed pitching in the league. So I think Carrasco can certainly have a ceiling game, and you can look, he's getting a $1,600 salary discount compared to the last time that he faced these guys. So I do like Carrasco. I think the industry is probably also going to like Carrasco. I think he's going to be a very popular pairing to go with Woodruff in cash games. After Carrasco in this mid-tier, I got McKenzie, and he's kind of like Carrasco as well in that he can have games where he mows people down, but can also have games where he really struggles. And again, if you've been watching these videos for the past 2 years, I've been saying this every time. McKenzie, he's a very boomer bust kind of pitcher. He had one of his boom games last time out, shutting down the Yankees in that incredible offense. But then he got blown up twice against Minnesota before that. So he's very boom, very bust. He's got an easier matchup going up against KC, but that's, equal matchup going up against KC. But I think given, the higher price tag, I'd still put him a little bit below Carrasco. Everywhere else, Kramer, cannot argue what Kramer's been doing. He's been doing pretty well, and he's facing an Angels team that strikes out a lot against right-handed pitching. Especially in this past month. I think they're overall like 30%, which is just absurd. Kramer, not a super strikeout guy, but he can certainly get there. And then I got Green ranked as the last guy. It might not be a popular decision among everybody, but I mean, his K rate has gone down his past handful of starts now. And now he's going up against Tampa Bay. So when he's not striking guys out, he really struggles. He allows a lot of hard contact. You can see his strikeout rates has been down. And well, you can kind of see what happens when he doesn't strike guys out. He does a lot of home runs, a lot of fly balls, and it's just not too pretty. So I got Green ranked below Kramer there. Rasmussen, I just don't know how deep into the game he's going to go. His pitch counts are pretty limited. You can see he never really goes over 80 pitches or 81 pitches. So he's not going to go too deep in the game. So I'm going to be fading him. And then Logue, he just got called up from the minors after a rough start in the majors earlier this season. So Logan Rasmussen, they are on my fade list. Corbin, Freeland, Bumgarner, they're kind of all guys on that fade list. In the cheap tier, Sandoval for the Angels going up against Baltimore. He kind of sticks out as like the only guy in this tier. I mean, if you want to put it as the tier, he's $100 cheaper than Carrasco, but still great matchup going against Baltimore. However, Baltimore, they're doing pretty well as of late. I mean, how many games back of second place in the AL East are they right now? 4, 5. So it's pretty impressive what Baltimore's been able to do. But still, Sandoval, he's clear cut above the rest. That's what this line here is for. It's just Sandoval and then like a massive gap. And then maybe you could throw in Garrett as a cheap punt play if you really want to get down in that range. I'm not looking too much lower than Sandoval at this point in my builds, but yeah. So let's kind of like get into the builds. I mentioned earlier that Woodruff, Carrasco, and then I like it. Atlanta stack's probably going to be pretty popular, but it leaves you very, very short on salary, especially if you go with these three guys here. So I think a team that I would like to pair with them would be Arizona. I have them as my favorite cheap stack on the day. They're going up against Freeland for Colorado. And Arizona has a couple of guys. I mean, I feel like I just made this video. Healthy Atlanta stack with Christian Walker at first base and then Luplow, dirt cheap in the outfield. I mean, put those guys in. Now you're at 3K remaining. Now, this is not an official core. This is not officially what we're going to be putting out as a core, but this is just like an initial build and kind of like guide you into like where you could be heading. So you can certainly get this great Atlanta stack going up against Corbin with a solid, cheap Arizona mini stack to go along with it. Fill in some guys. You can go cheap at catcher. There's other outfielders that I think are very cheap, very valuable today as well. They could be throwing in Hummel if he's in for Arizona, 2.7K. Maybe you throw him in. Maybe you go with Harris from Atlanta and expand on that Atlanta stack, kind of a wraparound with him at the bottom of the order. But you can certainly go with this build. You can kind of build through there. Maybe you throw in, if you don't want all that Atlanta, maybe you throw in some Houston going up against Logue, who just got called up from the minors and really struggled in the majors earlier this season. So Atlanta, Houston, those are my top two. Arizona, I think, can be a great cheap team that you can fill in the gaps and kind of help you put all those top tier guys in. GPP, I have Tampa Bay at the top, New York Mets right behind them. But Tampa Bay going up against Green, I mentioned his strikeouts are way down. And when he can't strike guys out, he allows a lot of hard contact. He's been allowing a lot of home runs lately, a lot of fly balls, and Tampa Bay can certainly get to him. So maybe you throw in a Tampa Bay stack. Kiermaier, he's super cheap. He can certainly hit one out of the park. I think he's only like 2.8K. Let me see. Where are we at? 1 second as I find these guys. How cheap is Kiermaier? 2.3. He's even cheaper than I thought. So maybe he's another guy you can throw in for super cheap. Maybe you go with a Tampa Bay stack and pair him with a Houston stack. Because maybe you don't go Houston in cash. Maybe you want to go here, Bregman, because everybody's probably going to go Riley at third base or Jose Ramirez from Cleveland. He's going to be another popular third baseman. So maybe Bregman goes a little bit more under the radar. You can throw in Altuve, who has fantastic numbers against left-handed pitching. So maybe you go with a Tampa Bay and a Houston stack in GPPs because you get a little lower ownership. And then I kind of hinted at it earlier. Maybe you go Valdez instead of Woodruff. With everybody going Woodruff, maybe you instead of zigging, you go zag and go with Valdez. And then everybody's probably, I would assume, going to Carrasco as their SP2. So maybe for just 100 cheaper, you go to Sandoval, who could arguably be in a better matchup. I don't know why I just hit Stassi there. But yeah, like a Houston, Tampa Bay, and then these two pitchers. You could even just do one of these pitchers. You could do a Woodruff and Sandoval. That'll still kind of separate you, or a Valdez and Carrasco. Just kind of getting off that Woodruff, Carrasco chalk, I think can really separate yourself. And then, yeah, Houston, Cleveland, love Cleveland. I already mentioned Jose Ramirez. Tampa Bay, they're fine. Arizona, they're cheap. Leverage tax is just kind of going against the chalk ownership that I think. Pittsburgh, Miami, Baltimore going up against Woodruff, Carrasco, Sandoval, Valdez, etc. So that kind of wraps things up. It's fairly straightforward slate. Please come back. We are going to have the later slate, the notes down at the bottom in the comment section. Mega Ruler is going to be putting those notes in later for the late slate, that 4-gamer. So please come back to this video later on in the day. We'll have some notes out for that, some of our favorite pitchers, favorite stacks, and yeah, that kind of wraps things up. So pretty straightforward slate. I love it. Hopefully we can all profit from this slate, and thanks for watching as always. Good luck in your contests, and we will see you in the next video.